Now, this is a particularly interesting palm. Not a very clear image, but I have figured out a few things. So the things I'm going to talk about with this person's palm is the ambition line rising up from mid-20s there, early to mid-20s, probably about 24, rising up onto Jupiter. That's significant. Look at how deep and meaningful this lifeline is. This person is living their best life. And also at the age of about 50, we see a line there reaching away from the lifeline, cutting across the fate, reaching up on towards Mercury. And what I find particularly fascinating about this, but I'm tilting my head because of the angle of the palm. What I find fascinating is the fate line and how it changes course dramatically as it reaches the headline. And notice how much stronger that fate is, that career line, especially as we reach early 50s and onwards. And notice as well how the success line does the same thing. It starts off faint, and after it passes the heart line, look at how much stronger that becomes. Much, much deeper and meaningful, more meaningful there. And the career line directly corresponds with what we see in the success line. And there's a direct correlation here. When we look at the headline, look at how as it branches away, as this person begins to think about the future and money and planning, we can see that this future planning sparks this success off. And it's at the same time that this career shift occurs. And it's that kind of classic pinnacle year of mid-30s. So I'm going to explain what I think this means as well. And I think a lot of you already know what I'm getting at by a lot of these things. But the key thing that I want to get to the bottom of, and I'll explain what I think this means at the end of this video, is this kind of Harry Potter scar going on down here. It could well be a scar, in fact. It's, as I say, it's not a very clear image, so it's hard to know. I'm wondering if that's a toxicity line. In any case, let's get to the bottom of who this person is. So on this person's left hand, we already see great changes here. The lifeline actually comes from the Jupiter mount itself, and look how strong those beginnings are. This is an incredibly ambitious person with great aspirations. The thumb itself strikes me as unique, especially with this angle of proficiency there. There's a feeling of satisfaction that comes from creating with this person, and this is who they are as a person, their ability to create. The headline is exceptionally creative in itself. It begins quite high up on the palm. This is a fire hand, so this goes in line with this ambition. The thumb itself, look at just how pointed that is at the tip there. This is a person with refined tastes. But also notice how well developed the thumb is before it tapers off into a fine tip. This is someone who their ideas will be known. And I feel like, yes, look at the third phalanx of Apollo there as well. This is someone who has a great idea when it comes to taste and design. Tastes literally within their mouth, but also what they see and how they think and feel about colors, textures, shapes, design. I feel like this is someone who may well be working in fashion in some way. I would be particularly interested to know what their fingerprint pattern is on their Apollo finger. If it's a whirl, that would make this person highly likely to be involved in home furnishing design somehow. This is undoubtedly a willful person, but they are in alignment with themselves, it seems. Jupiter and Apollo are both very much aligned. This person's acknowledges, doesn't have an overinflated view of their own abilities and their self. They are in alignment in that way, that their ego and their ambitions are in check with what they are able to do. So that's really good. And actually, this alignment between the length of Jupiter and Apollo is one of the signs of fame in palmistry as a result of that alignment. Saturn does look to be a little bit on the long side. Actually, I think what's happening here is we have a relatively short Jupiter and Apollo. Now, the success line, and I'm going to get back to what that means, that short Apollo and Jupiter, but the success line here, it's strong and it's deep. Now, the success line or the Apollo line can mean different things for different people. And for some people, it's all about reputation. And for others, it's peace of mind, it's health, it's family, it's happiness, it's freedom. But for some, it's money. And for this person, I feel it's money. So it's about determining, ascertaining what that Apollo means to them, and that can be done often by the length of the fingers. So we have here a short Apollo finger. It doesn't reach the past or up to the halfway mark of the first phalanx of Saturn, or at least that's what I'm getting from this image. And neither does Jupiter. So neither is this person too concerned with reputation. And also, I feel that they actually have quite an underinflated ego, perhaps. They're highly willful, but they're not so much throwing their own self-importance around. I feel like they are hugely, they value and have importance in their own ideas, but not themselves, if that makes sense. There's a feeling here of not a great amount of confidence. And I feel like their ego has been squashed somehow. I wonder what their upbringing was like. But in any case, this person, I feel, needs to have a bit more self-confidence. Give a bit more back to themselves. Notice how Apollo and Saturn both sort of lean towards each other. Those aren't good examples, but especially at the tips there. And this shows a person who is kind of a bit guilty about having a bit of alone time. They're very self-conscious. Not self-conscious, sorry. They're over-considerate of others' feelings and not enough their own. And that's partly because of this actually underinflated ego. Ego is helpful because it allows us, to some degree, everything in moderation. It's self-preservation, I suppose, and it allows us to put ourselves first when necessary. And I think this is very common as well. This lack of self-esteem is generally derived from childhood. And when we see a very low set Mercury, it's unfortunate for this person because their ability to their abilities to express themselves and communicate their message themselves, their ability to communicate who they are to the wider world, to those around them, has been somewhat stunted, thwarted. However, it doesn't mean that they are unable to communicate or express themselves, because they a low set Mercury it shows an inability to express deep feelings, emotional, complicated feelings, matters of the heart. They find it difficult to emotionally express themselves. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are unable to express themselves in other areas, physically or artistically or verbally. And once we establish that actually a low set finger isn't necessarily a short finger, we can determine from that more things. So we offset the difference between how low set Mercury is with where Apollo begins, with the overall, if you compare the length of the Mercury finger against the bottom two phalanges of Apollo, well, actually, you'd see that Mercury would be, it would reach past the first phalanx of Apollo. So what we have here is someone who is very able to express and communicate themselves, just not so much on a deeper and more emotional level. That part they will struggle with, and that's likely due to upbringing issues, I would have thought. Now, the left hand shows us what's inside, what's internal, and you can see from about the age of about 16, 17, we've got a truly tremendous ambition line here. There's also a bit of a cross on Jupiter. That's interesting. It's interesting because it means a couple of things. There is an enhanced, highly intuitive nature to this person's character, but also there's an emotional awareness, which is interesting because although they might not be able to very easily, articulately express themselves emotionally, they can perhaps pick up on it in other people. So this ambition, this was a fire that burned in them. It's almost as though they knew what they were going to do. This is a bold person, and I say that because of the way the lifeline swings out. Look at on the right hand how far away the lifeline pulls away from Venus. Venus is a place of family, home, love, relationship, stability, the familiar. This is a person who is bold because they are putting themselves out there. They're making the bold steps to step outside into the unknown and venture. And in fact, when I use that word now, it triggers something in me. This is a person who is venturing. They have a business venture, and they are able to instinctively, this is going back to the intuition that I've seen on the left hand, and also I see it here as well with this Mercury line here, which forms, it points towards a money line on Mercury as well. And as I say, this is a person who I think money has a particular, they place it quite high on their list of priorities, in their list of values. And that's because I think it's security to them. That's what this means here, this little flick up from the headline towards outer Mars. Money is security to this person. And I think this is because of the difficulties they've been through in relationships. Potentially it's upbringing, but I think this is more around a previous relationship, perhaps. And so now they've developed a sense of freedom. I think money, it coincides with that for them, freedom. It's choice, it's possibilities, and it's opportunity, it's stability, and therefore it's happiness for this person. It makes perfect sense. Now, this is interesting. Looking on the left hand, look here. We see what appears to be a rising line up from inner Mars, from the lifeline, really, inner Mars, rising up onto Saturn. And this shows some sort of academic achievement, perhaps. This was a moment for them where they felt a great sense of achievement and self-worth through perseverance in something similar to at least an academic achievement. And it has seriously aided them in what they wanted to do in their career choice. And this for them was perhaps around the age of about 20. So perhaps this was them uni degree. And for this person, it was highly relevant for them, their degree, and they really utilized, I feel, this if that's what this is, a degree at least. So a little bit later on, about the age of about 30, I would say, there seems to be some major change, some major obstacle in this person's life. Is it 30? Yeah, I would say about 32, perhaps. We've got something here, and it looks to me like divorce. So that's unfortunate, and I think this ties in again with the importance this person places on money, probably because of this. So I wonder what the role was money played in this previous relationship. If this is in fact, you know, what I'm getting at here, money. I do think this is a divorce, around about the age of about 32. Now, whilst we're on the left hand, notice the career line. It's reaching up. It's heading towards a very sort of stable, hard-working, hierarchical kind of role. Now, alongside this picture of events as to what's going to happen for this person, we've got another career line here, another fate line here developing alongside it. And this shows this person has an idea in mind as to what it is they actually want to do, what they should be doing. And they have a project that they're working alongside their day job. And this project takes off, and it really appears to take off after this, what I think is divorce, after the age of about 32. Now, if we look on the right hand is the physical, the material, the practical. This is the external on the right hand. You can see this secondary fate line occurring around about the age of, I want to say, 19, 20. And yeah, it coincides with this here. Yeah, I want to say that this person's had this idea, this project in mind since this time. And they weren't truly able to fulfill their dream until this period of great change occurred for them at 32. And you can see at the age of about 32, on this secondary fate line, you can see the influence that this has. So I'm slowing down a bit here, and that's because I'm thinking as I'm going. Now, where the fate line meets the headline is roughly the age of 35 for most people. I've not really done any calculations for this person because I'm just too busy trying to figure out what's going on. And this is the same for the secondary fate line, but it makes it a bit more complicated because of the way the headline arcs, but it's still relevant. So this, I would say it's a little bit earlier than 32 here. There's a spark here that sparks off this person's success. So I wonder, maybe I'm wrong about the divorce date. Maybe it's a little bit earlier than that. It's still quite early to be getting a divorce. But this person, I imagine, was quite young when they got married. Let's have a look. I can't really tell, to be honest. There's not enough clarity here. Maybe I wouldn't be able to tell anyway. In any case, I believe this person truly ventured down their dream path, what it is they wanted to do since about the age of 18, 19. And they weren't fully able to do this until a great change steamrolled through their life. And I think they started up their own business, perhaps, or it's as successful as their own business. Perhaps they are self-employed. In any case, they are highly successful now, and there's a lot more happiness, at least after this period in their life. I have no idea how old this person actually is, so I could be saying a lot of things ahead of time here. Now, this scar, it looks like a scar, doesn't it, on the right hand. Now, on the left hand, it shows up as a desire to travel. Doesn't look to be anything else. There's nothing negative I can see there. Now, on the left hand, at the very worst, I believe this could be some damage to this person's urinary tract or bladder. Potentially, this is damage to the organs from sort of pharmaceutical medication, side effects of pharmaceuticals. They're not getting on with them very well. Or it is just, in fact, a scar, and I'm completely wrong about that. Again, it's not the most clear of images, but I'm sorry I can't be more clear about exactly what that means. So you've got two options there. You'll know if it's a scar or not, won't you? So going back to this divorce, because I've just picked up on something here a little bit. There are neat convergences of lines that appear in the palms, and at times I don't prescribe too much meaning to these, but when we see enough of it going on, I do think that there is some depth to these. And with this person, I feel that money, it may well be that this divorce, if that's what this is, enabled them financially. Perhaps they had some money after this time. Either that or they were able to earn money after this time. In any case, I think this person will be in a loving relationship after the age of around about 38. There is one great love in this person's life. So I think I'm going to stop there. I feel like this is a particularly fascinating person and character, and I've not read many hands that have these kinds of features. This is a lovely Venus mount. Neptune is well developed as well, as is Luna. Their ability to get their message across to the world is through their creative efforts. That's how this person expresses themselves. And as I say, I feel like there's a high emotional awareness, emotional intelligence to this person. But their struggle is actually, ironically, around communicating and articulating their own innermost, deepest, complex emotional feelings. So they may struggle in personal, close relationships because of that. My advice mainly for this person would be to give more time to themselves. Actually, I think they're a little bit too considerate of others. So I hope you've enjoyed this reading. Let me know what your thoughts are. I hope I've got this person right. And I would like to see everybody subscribe. Thank you. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.